And we'll,
See, I do my research.
all right, and we're going to get going to the live stream for 5 seconds here. Okay. All right, we are live. Welcome everybody to the Power Connection chat. My name is Bobby Umar. I've been hosting live streams on LinkedIn about 150 times over the last couple of years, and it's been a great experience. And I'm excited today because we have a fantastic featured guest, as well as two amazing featured panelists to pose questions. So Richard is here, who is the master of the algorithm research that he's done. He's going to share his insights. And then I brought two of LinkedIn's biggest data nerds that I know, Andy Foote and John Espirian. They're going to hound him with questions, as am I. And everyone who's here watching, by all means, please make sure you can put your questions, put your comments below. Let us know where you're from, engage us. So there's always a lot of people that are ready to attend this, so we're pretty excited about this. So let's just kind of get started with some introductions. So we'll start with you. Let's start with Andy and John. Give us your introductions, then I'll give John, Richard. So Andy,
Thank you so much, Bobby, for running this. Why am I the shortest on the screen? That's, I mean, what the? Is
that better?
Why am I the shortest? It's ridiculous. I can't angle my, if I angle my camera, it's going to fall off. So I guess I'm going to be the shortest. Yes, Andy Foote, reassuringly expensive LinkedIn brand enhancer. What else do you need to know? That's it. Done.
I think that's about it. Okay, yeah. John, go ahead.
Hi everyone, I'm John Espirian. I am the relentlessly helpful LinkedIn nerd. I'm a content writer for B2B. I've written a book called Content DNA, and I love digging into LinkedIn analytics. So here to get stuck in with Richard.
Awesome. Awesome. And my name is Bobby Umar. I'm a professional speaker and trainer focused on training thought leadership brands with executives around LinkedIn, content storytelling, and relationship building and personal branding. So that's mine. And so Richard, please welcome. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks for everyone for being here. Richard, please introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Richard van der Blom, and I have never been this nervous for a live show as this, because you have set me up against one of the two meanest people on LinkedIn with regards to analytics. So it feels like going back to high school and doing my last exam for a committee of people that are far more into details as I am. No, my name is Richard van der Blom. I have published the 3rd annual LinkedIn algorithm research, September 27th. Besides that, I run a training and a consultancy agency where I support global operating enterprise companies on their journey of virtual, remote, and social selling.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Richard. I think to start off with, I'd like to have you actually share with the audience a bit more about how this research was done, so they get a sense of that. And then maybe share one thing that maybe if there's one surprising thing that you found from that. I mean, I know there's tons of things that we're going to dive into, but maybe share one interesting insight that you learned from it.
Yeah, okay, cool. I'd love to do that. First of all, it was the 3rd year. We started in 2019. Basically, the reason why we started this algorithm research was because we had a lot of questions from corporate marketing departments, our clients, that didn't understood why one post would leverage a lot of views and engagement, and another post, which was more or less the same, would then suddenly stop at, let's say, 500 views. So they were really like, we produce content, we are convinced of the quality of content, but however, we don't, seem to have the right formula to be successful with it. And we had more or less the same internal in our company. So we started to do the research in 2019, which resulted into 12 pages of research. We did it again last year. And this year we had the most extended research. I had a team of one professional who is working as a marketing research and statistics professor on the Open University. And he works with a team of 8 students. Every year there are other students. They're in the last year. I provide them with my questions. I get a lot of input from the LinkedIn community. And then they start more or less doing the research. It will take them more or less about 2 months. This year we used about 100 people, 110 people. So we get the login of these people, and what they do actually, with a lot of tools, but also with a lot of manual work. They make like print screens every 15 minutes and see what happens based on the different elements of posting. So that's more or less what we did.
Yeah, I'd like to just quickly recognize Richard's algo report. You know, for the last 3 years, not just LinkedIn nerds like us, right, but people who have kind of suspected, you know, this is what the algo has been doing at this time. Just to congratulate him again for all of the hard work, but not just that, but also for releasing it to us for free and not just keeping it to himself and his clients. It's an amazing gift, and you know, we appreciate it. Thanks very much, buddy.
Yeah, thank you for that. We always receive a lot of positive feedback. Interesting enough, this year, and it started last year, but this year I also, I wouldn't call it like hate mail, but I've received some fairly nasty mails from people that were not only doubting the research and the conclusions, but also asked the question like, we want to have an insight into the data because we don't believe you. And I'm like very open about it. Okay, it's research. It's not waterproof. It's like only a small bit of all the posts that are published on LinkedIn. We try to do our best. If you take it, if you believe it, be my guest. If not, you know, do your own research, whatever makes you happy. So I'm not there to pretend that this is like the holy Bible of LinkedIn algorithm, because it's probably not. But based on the implementation by a lot of our clients, we see that the things, if you follow some of the rules, you can see a bigger engagement, a higher success rate with your existing content. So that for me is the proof that most of the thing that's in the report, it's definitely true. So thank you for acknowledging that, Andy.
Yeah. I mean, just to say, to prod and to be a naysayer about this is, I think, missing the point, right? I don't know of anyone else, any other team that has attempted to do this. So to say that it's better than nothing is not the right approach. It's like this, as I said before, you know, this is maybe you know, the biggest sample that we'll ever see on LinkedIn data. Because LinkedIn doesn't do this stuff themselves. They won't let us look. And that makes us suspicious, frankly. But as I said, it confirms a lot of what, you know, John, Bobby, and I have seen in our own research, as limited as that may be. So that's the strength. But
yeah, and I think 98% is on the same page with us. So let me be frank about it. I received 1,200 emails in the first week, 10 days after publishing, and a lot of people were very thankful. They implemented it, and they also said exactly the same like you, Andy. This is like more or less a proof of what we are experiencing ourselves, but now it's founded by data, or it's backed up by data. So yeah.
Okay,
also,
so
Bobby,
I've got a question for you, Richard. One of the surprising findings was about the bad effect of editing a post within, let's say, an hour of it going live. Now, in my own experience, I haven't seen any kind of negative impact in editing my posts, and I've been editing my posts for years. Obviously, you've been looking at a lot of data. Has that changed since last year, and can you quantify the negative impact of editing a post within, let's say, the first hour?
It's interesting your question, John, because Bobby also asked me what is like the biggest learning or the biggest surprise. I think that we might have seen that LinkedIn is responding to some of the behavior that people are showing on LinkedIn in order to trigger the algorithm. You know, we all know let's put the link in the first comment. We all know the create a post, edit your post, then add a link because the algorithm won't find it. Because what we've seen is that, and this is based on the number of posts we've stated, is about 3,000 posts, I believe, or 5,000 posts. is that in your first batch, we all know if you publish something, it goes to a specific test panel, they need to engage, but your first batch was more or less limited with 15%. We see that because in the first hour, we track how many views the post is getting when editing instantly, so within a few seconds, or without editing. And we could see like there was like 10 to 15% of less views on the post that edited. The same 20 to 25% was if you yourself are the first to comment on your own post. Obviously, it has not been confirmed, John, but I guess editing your post directly, putting a comment on your own post, this is how a lot of people try to manipulate the algorithm. So it makes sense for me, just for LinkedIn, to say, okay, like we're going to punish these silly behaviors in order to have people post the link in the original body, because obviously they don't like, I guess, they don't like people going around and left and right to try to trigger the algorithm.
Yeah, it seems. Sorry, John, go ahead.
I was going to say, I was thinking about the being the first to comment thing and wondering whether one way around that. I mean, I don't recommend putting the link in the comments in general. I wouldn't recommend doing that anyway, because a post that gets successful, that link will be algorithmically sorted and then probably lost in the conversation anyway.
Exactly.
But one possible way around that thing, if LinkedIn is looking for you being the author and posting the first comment, would be to go in as your company page and post the first comment. Would that go around?
Exactly. Or just, if you work in a marketing, ask your colleague to put in the link, because then you have another comment putting in the link. So yeah, definitely. There is absolutely a way around. But another fact that I think that LinkedIn is responding to some of the behavior is that we saw that on a company page, for example, getting likes and comments from your own employees, which we call internal engagement, has less impact than getting external engagement from people outside your company. So people not attached to the same company page. Also, this makes sense because I don't know about you guys, but I speak with a lot of marketing departments that go out, and if we publish something, we have this advocacy tool, or we send an email for people to comment, like, or post. So this is internal engagement in order, of course, to boost the amount of views and in the end, boost engagement and conversion. So for me, also, this makes sense. And interesting enough, I don't know if you have seen my post. I think Andy did. 1 week or 1.5 weeks after publishing the report, I got a mail from the same group of students which said, hey, we have found something that if your second degree is engaging on your post, it has much more impact. We're talking about 50% more impact, a like or a comment, than from your first degree connection. So again, I think LinkedIn is really looking and valuing your post based on external engagement or engagement from people you do not know yet.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that that's a defense mechanism against things like engagement pods where everyone's connected with each other and it's the same cohort of people always commenting. And also that strengthens the value of having followers rather than connections looking at your content. I love seeing comments from second and third line connections. I must say that I go and then usually go and connect with them if they're saying something sensible. So maybe I'm denying my future value. What do you think about that?
I have exactly the same thought, and I discussed this. I had a session with a company where the salespeople said, wow, awesome. But if a second degree person is liking, commenting my content, which has more impact, and he belongs to my target audience, he belongs to like potential client, I always reach out to him, send a connection request and say, thank you for engaging, let's connect. And frankly, John, like you, I'm doing the same because, hey, if my target audience is responding, let's connect, because there is a higher chance that they see my next content. But that means that in the future, if they engage, it will have less impact. For me, I still stick with my strategy that if my target audience engages, I want to make them a connection. I want to start having this relationship with them. So yeah.
Yeah, you're surely more likely to do business with a first level connection than with a second level connection.
That's my thought. Yeah.
The being the first to comment, the editing after publication. First comment you say could result in a minus 20% reach. Edit after publication, a minus 15% reach. If you add an external link, that's minus 40 to 50% of normal reach. Certainly those first two seem to me to be a bit of a blunt tool, right? Not the scalpel. What I mean by that is, look, if I make a mistake, a typo, then I want to correct it because I'm a wordsmith and people hire me, hire John, to be wordsmiths, right? So we must correct those, and we're fallible, we're human, so we make those mistakes. So for LinkedIn to be punitive about a correction seems, as I said, seems like a hammer. Now, if you're changing the whole post, right, after it's published, and perhaps people are commenting, I get that, right? If you're changing the whole tenor of the message, I get that, right? So the editing after publication, I hope, right, that I'm not losing 15% reach just because I correct a typo. Being the first to comment, I can see again how, Richard, you would say that would be, you know, tricking the algo, gaming, a form of gaming. I've done that in the past. I've never thought anything of it. I still might do it for whatever reason I think it's necessary. So I don't worry too much about that. The external link, which you say could result in a huge reduction in reach, right? I wonder, as someone who is in charge of my own domain, right? I run a website, and whoever runs a website has the option, right, to have that open in a new tab. So you're not actually leaving LinkedIn. I don't know why LinkedIn doesn't do something like that if they're so worried about us hopping over the garden wall, right? But that's, you know, that's my thinking.
LinkedIn has tried. I saw this also in the show of Jonathan Palmer a few weeks ago. LinkedIn has officially stated somewhere in a webinar held for US clients that it's a myth that external links will provide less views. I got the question from Jonathan Palmer, what do you think? And I said, it's not true. They try to debunk the myth, but it's worthless because all the research, not only our research, but all the research I have seen, and very frankly, I have posted this week and last week 2 posts with external links. I reached 3,000 and 4,000 views, where my average is 10 to 12,000. So I don't need LinkedIn to debug the myth because it's there, it's obvious. So one of the questions I always ask my clients is, do we necessarily need to have the conversion on our website? Or would it also be possible to have the conversion on LinkedIn? If you have this great blog, is it like 100% necessary that we publish it on the website, then make a link with extra, because we are getting less views? Or are we going to have the highlights of the blog, for example, in a slide deck on LinkedIn, where on the last page you say, hey, if you want to have the full article, go to the website or send me a message, because in that way, LinkedIn is going to help you get more reach, which is, we want to have more visibility. And if you provide value, it's my opinion that whether you have the people already on your website, whether they need to send you a message, but if you provide value, there will be conversion. So one of the takeaways for me personal, and that I advise my clients is, in your content strategy, have a look on how many conversions you want to have via external links. If you know that LinkedIn is going to help you get more reach, more visibility if you leave people on the platform. I do sometimes have an external link. I know my first batch will be smaller. I know I need to work harder to get the same amount of reach. I probably will not reach the same amount, but it's a good dynamic in your content strategy to sometimes lead people to an external website.
Do you have any insight on whether links that have got long URLs that are auto-shortened perform any better or worse than links that have short URLs that are not auto-shortened?
No, I don't. So you mean if you use Bitly or those or this different from?
Yeah, I mean, any URL that's fewer than 26 characters won't be auto-shortened by LinkedIn. And so you get to see the domain, and I think that leads to more trustworthiness. Whereas anything beyond 26, you just see lnkd.in/whatever, and you have no idea where that's going to take you. So I'm just thinking that feels like a less trustworthy link. So maybe people wouldn't click the link, and therefore the post won't perform as well because LinkedIn's measuring fewer clicks. I mean,
it's interesting. It's definitely.
your research, I believe, has no way of tracking the proportion of view counts to clicks, because you can't see how many people click the link. But it would be great to know that.
Yeah. I absolutely agree, John. I have, to be honest, I've never thought about that, about the links shorter than 20 says being authentic and more. It's been shortened by LinkedIn. Just to give an example, another question I got yesterday is somebody said, I think I have discovered that if I publish something on LinkedIn and I directly, instantly go away from LinkedIn, so I shut LinkedIn down, I go to another website, I think I get more reach and I get more views than if I publish it and I stay on LinkedIn, because she thinks, and that's interesting, that if you leave LinkedIn, they go like, oh no, you left, we want to get you back, so we're going to increase the views. We're going to
I heard that rumor too.
Yeah, and you're speaking to people that live on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
What do you mean you shut down? You log out? How could you do that? That's insane.
All right, listen, I want to interrupt here and just say again, we are doing the Power Connection chat, talking to Richard Vanderboom about the LinkedIn algorithm research. There are hundreds of people commenting on LinkedIn right now, lots of engagement here. So, and I'm not sure we're going to be able to get to everyone's questions, because I think I really want to get Andy and John to ask the questions. So I think it's going to be hard to do that, but if we can, maybe we'll take a look at them, keep bugging us, keep commenting, keep sharing your posts. I think that's really great.
I've got one that a lot of people might be asking in chat if they've read the report, Bobby. Reach down by 20%. What? Screeching tires, right? So, and then no explanation. I'd be interested to see whether that continues, right, in 22. But WTF? Why? I mean, is it simply because more people are posting and therefore the pie is getting like smaller and smaller, right, in terms of eyeballs? Is that? I mean, it seems too simplistic an explanation. What's going on?
Good question, Andy. It's also, maybe for me, it was also like, what the hell happened? Although I can see it in my own posts as well. Summer 2020 or directly after summer 2020, my reach was slightly higher than now, which is or the same. But even if it's the same, my followers grow in the past 5-6 months with about 6,000-7,000. So it would make sense that my average reach would also grow, which it hasn't been doing until recently. So what we did, amongst the 110 people were about 60-70 people we also researched last year. So this is the same people, so we could compare. And next to that, my own profile and some other profiles of members of the company are also examined. And there could be various explanations. First of all, the number of people that publish on LinkedIn went from, if I remember, 4.1 to 4.9. It only is 1%, but 1% of nearly 8 million or 800 million means 8 million people more publish on LinkedIn, okay? Then the number of people that engage, which was fairly low. It was around 14% of all the members would like, comment, share your post, went up to 19%. So again, 40 million people more liking, commenting, sharing means a lot of more buzz in the timeline. So this means we need to fight harder for views. Which could lead to a drop in average reach. Second, in my trainings, when I try to let people understand the dynamic of their feed, last year I said, okay, refresh your feed and you will see that your 3rd, your 8th, and your 15th post is a promoted ad from a company. And I did that to show them, for example, I follow about 400 company pages. Sometimes I need to scroll like minutes before I find an organic post, because we all know organic company posts are like swept aside because LinkedIn wants to earn money and have the promoted post there. So last year, 3rd, 8th, 15th. I do not know. Have you tried it now? Because it's the 2nd, it's the 8th, it's the 12th, 15th, 18th, and so on. So there is more room for advertising, more room than ever, which means that our posts need to fight against the paid posts of companies, and obviously, you know what LinkedIn is going to choose. So this is for me maybe the most important reason why everybody gets less reach, because LinkedIn has exchanged some of the organic individual reach for paid company reach.
Yeah.
Richard, do you have a view on what is the optimal proportion of posting to commenting? Because a lot of people who come to me saying, I'm broadcasting stuff and no one's engaging, and it's often because they're not putting the effort in to engage. But if they were to spend all of their time commenting on 100 different posts before they post one of their own, that would be suboptimal because they're spending all of their time helping other people, not doing anything for themselves. So do you have any view from the data about what is a good ratio? I usually talk about sort of 1 to 5, but does the data reveal that there's a good number of comments to make before you make your own post, or anything like that you can tell us about?
No, not as detailed as you asked the question. What do you mean with your ratio 1 to 5? Means
Well,
one post and 5 comments?
you make one post. Yeah, ideally you should go and try and find 5 relevant other conversations that you can contribute to, because when you do so, of course, you expose your content to other people, and also the posters will then more likely to see your post in their feed because you've reciprocated. So there must be some kind of optimum where it's not taking too much of your time, but you're exposing yourself to enough people to get some critical mass on your own content. I recommend 1 to 5, but that's just like a finger in the air. I don't really know if that's optimal. So
I recommend 1 to 10, John, which is more time consuming, as you say, because first you need to identify 10 valuable posts. Main conclusion of the algorithm, without any ratio, it's interesting, but we don't have that detailed data. But main conclusion is people that only publish themselves and very rarely engage with other people's posts have less engagement, less views than people who are actively engaging with their network themselves. So that's the reason why I say, okay, if you post something in the same day or the day before, go out, identify 10 valuable discussions and leave insightful comments, because you will turn up in more timelines. People will click back to your profile. People will, if I engage with your content and I post, I'm definitely in your feed tomorrow. That's how the algorithm works. There is a slide in the algorithm that says, if you perform 2 actions on somebody's profile or content in 8 days, this means you bring this person back in your algorithm. And you can work on this one-sided. So this means, for example, if I have 20 potential clients amongst my first-degree connections, and I have 2 or 3 valuable posts coming up, then one of the actions I could do is go to these 20 people, like a piece of content, endorse a skill, visit their profile. That also counts, just opening their profile, because then I'll make sure that if I post this content tomorrow, they all 20, if they're on LinkedIn, will see my content. So there's definitely a correlation between being active yourself, engaging, and the amount of views engagement you are getting on your own content.
Yeah. I've got a question about video. Earlier this year, LinkedIn said in an official article that 79% of all recorded videos on LinkedIn are played with the sound turned off, which really makes a compelling case for putting captions on videos, subtitles. Do you have any evidence that captioned video content performs better than non-captioned video content?
Depends what you would categorize as official proof, because we have seen that videos with subtitles get more views on average. Okay, so that's true. The only thing I think is the influence of the pandemic and home working on these stats. Because if you work in an office, if you commute by train, I think you have this sound disabled. But if you're working at home, I don't know about you guys, but I always watch now videos with sound on. So I think there is some influence about the home working hybrid world that we have all entered like 18 months ago on these stats. And I don't know, I haven't seen the official report, John, when it was stated and what period they researched. I do not know that.
Yeah, I don't have the data around that, but that was it was a blog made a few months ago, and they didn't show what their data set was. A few people I've spoken to said, yes, the pandemic means we're working from home, but also it means that we're watching videos maybe in the evening after the kids have gone to bed, and we don't want to disturb people, so we've got maybe we might have headphones in, but maybe we'll watch the video on silent. So captions are still important, and they're important for other reasons. So okay.
That makes sense.
One thing that jumped out in your report, Richard, was tagging in comments. You said it does not negatively impact reach, even if they don't respond. And to me, that's that's spam tag paradise, isn't it? You can get away,
right?
you can get away scot-free spamming all of these people. I mean, I haven't seen it, thankfully. And again, that seems to me that it's something that the algo should address and should tamp down and discourage people from doing that if indeed they take the hint, rather than, as I say, punitively tackling like editing of the post and the first to comment thing. Go ahead, Bobby.
Well, I've seen people do it too, so I have seen people do it, and I think. But you're right. It's a bad. But it's typically the people that are mostly the ones that are in engagement groups, and which again doesn't make sense to me, because you're using an engagement group, now you're also tagging people with the same people. Like, what's the point of that? I don't get it.
Absolutely. And then on personal posts, Richard, you said more storytelling, more personal stories, more people trying to build genuine relationships by giving their network and insight in their personal and business lives. You say people that share personal stories convert 3 times more than people that only share their own company stuff. And then the other thing you add is that might have been from a post, actually, from the Algo report. You say personal content like personal interests, thoughts, success stories, anything that puts you or other people in the spotlight. And in brackets, you say high engagement, low conversion. What do you mean by low conversion? Are you talking about they don't actually become clients, but they just get to know you, and maybe long term you get them as clients, if that's your thing?
Yeah. We identified more or less 5 big content pillars that people or companies have on LinkedIn. We're talking about personal content or people content. So where it's about storytelling, it's about your employees or on your own profile. It's about you, your insights, your stories, your experiences. Second, thought leadership content. So this is about white papers, ebooks, reports, a lot of stuff you and John and I am actually sharing, which makes us hopefully an authority, the person to go to. Third, event content, everything, which we do now, announcement of a webinar, announcement of an event, announcement of a speaking gig, a summary of a webinar. So everything which has to do with events. Fourth, everything around your products and services, which could be a bit of spammy content if you're talking too much about your own services and products. Still, a lot of salespeople do it. And the 5th is third-party content, which I really like, because you identify a valuable piece of content, not written by you, but it has value for your audience. You share it and you give your additional insight. So those are the 5 pillars. Now, in this mix, because this is like a very good dynamic mix you can have, and it makes it also, in my opinion, and also based on stats, it makes it more interesting to follow you, because it's not only about Andy, it's not only about your services, but you share a lot of your insights in a dynamic strategy. The goal of the people content is that you become more approachable. People see you, people think they get to know you. I have, like, unintended or unintentionally, I have maybe the best example, September, October. I published this algorithm for free on LinkedIn, September 27th. And I didn't do the thing like, if you want to have it, say, yes, I do in the comment, which I did in the first year. Maybe you remember it, Andy, 2019. I published and said, leave a yes in the comment, which was a big disaster. Not in terms of views, but in terms of workload, because I needed to find out and send all emails. So back in 2019, this post with a very, like, only 12 pages research led to 300,000 views, okay? 300,000 views. This year, with more extended, I have 80,000 views. So this trick, what I did, leave a yes in the comment, it works because you get more comments, which builds your, I choose not to. To be honest, with the number of views, and I know it's not about views, But for me, it's disappointing, 80,000 views, because I received 1,200 emails, and still 80,000 views. 6 days later, my mom sent me a picture of my dad falling asleep with his Sudoku puzzle. My dad is in very bad health. Mentally, he's starting to dement. And so that made me think about my relationship with my dad. And I felt I wanted to share this with my network. Sometimes you need to get something out of your system. So I made a post with a picture of my dad, 350,000 views, best post in the last 3 years. And this is what I mean with personal content. The interesting fact, there are a lot of people, business people, salespeople, entrepreneurs, they're very reluctant, hesitant to post this stuff. And for me, whenever I hear this is LinkedIn, not Facebook, I get a rash at this moment. I'm like, oh, not again, the Facebook police, okay? Because we are human. Also on LinkedIn, we are human, okay? And this message about my dad got me about 200 direct messages, a lot from my clients that said, we've been there, we wish you the best of strength. If we can do anything for you, let us know. So how do you mean it does not belong on a social network site? It's building relationships by showing your vulnerability, because let's be honest, a lot of people on LinkedIn, they only share the good stuff. No, they only share look at me, I'm a successful entrepreneur. Look at me, I have a new client. But in real life, we also have difficulties. We have some disappointments. And if you dare to share this also with your network, you will get more engagement. You will become approachable. Does it lead to new training job? I don't think so. But in the total content strategy, it definitely brings added value to you as a person and as an expert.
I will also add to this that, personal content, people always say, yeah, this is Facebook, which is ridiculous. I mean, when I went to the workplace in the corporate structure, we would talk, we would go meet at the cafeteria, I'd go to someone's cubicle, we would meet at the coffee station, and we would talk about that latest Netflix show, or we would talk about, or I'd go to someone's cubicle who I felt close to, and we'd talk about our personal challenges and what's going on in our lives. And that's what we talked about in the workplace. We certainly talked about work, absolutely, but we definitely had personal conversations. So for me, the whole idea of doing that is absolutely essential to building trust, to building ROR, or return on relationship. I've been very outspoken on LinkedIn. Now I'm talking about social justice issues. I'm talking about racism. I talk about my body image issues and my weight loss challenges. I talk about binge eating. And I do this because I know that there's people out there who are also silent listeners, and they often DM me privately, say, you know what, you said that and it really meant a lot to me. So yeah, and in terms of conversion, you're right. I don't see it as much, but it certainly builds trust. And the next thing you know, they'll say, Bobby's a great LinkedIn guy or storytelling guy. Maybe you can do this workshop for someone else, and they get referrals. So for me, that's where I think there's a big impact. I think
it's water cooler chat, isn't it, Bobby?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
That people like to meet in the lunchroom and exchange these kind of things about what's going on in their life. And I think it may well reinforce existing relationships. So I'm much more tuned into something that personal that Richard is sharing, and same with John. And John does a nice thing. He does he spotlights people in his network, and it's the shout out. Is it Shout Out Friday, John?
Yeah,
Friday shout, yeah.
Yeah, and that's just a pure human interest thing. It's here's who I want to highlight. But what's interesting to me is that I am now seeing an increasing amount of the personal content on LinkedIn, and I'm seeing it pushed. I'm seeing it pushing out thought leadership stuff, which is really interesting. For someone who normally does 95% thought leadership, and so that's something that I'm still getting my head around. I've never been, this is not Facebook. I've always been, this is LinkedIn.
Right, but it's evolving.
Yeah, it's definitely evolving. Go ahead, Bobby.
Go ahead, John. I just want to make sure I have a couple of questions I want to get in, but I haven't yet. But John, you go ahead.
I think the danger point around this is when your value proposition becomes muddied because all you're doing is putting out personal stuff. Yeah. And dopamine addicts can really be intoxicated by getting those 500,000 views and think, well, I'll just do this every time. What's the point of putting anything business related? Because I just want the views. But actually, you've got to remember that there's, that there is a business reason for you to be on LinkedIn as well. So I think a balance is good, and don't get just intoxicated purely by the view counts, because that's not going to pay the rent.
I also say the engagement I think is thinner too on those feel goods or, the heart tugs. The engagement is thinner. It's like, my fingers crossed for you, wishing you all the best. Thought leadership, I think, is a different, it's long comments. It's getting into, I'm generalizing.
Definitely. If I had the metrics, it's a slide in the training where the metric is about views, engagement. I say thought leadership. It's about engagement that leads to conversion. And for example, we all know people call that high engagement, low conversion. Thought leadership is the other way around. Low engagement, you won't get the same numbers of likes, comments, but it converts if you put out the right things. So it's all about, I think, the dynamic of having different types of content. If somebody asks me how, in what kind of frequency do I need to put out personal stuff? I don't know, because I'm not going to sit today and think about a personal story, just like John said, to get my dopamine up. No, this was my mom sending me a picture which struck a nerve, and I would like to make the post. If I don't have anything to say, I'm not going to invent a personal story in order to get my so I think, but on the other hand, if salespeople say, I'm still not comfortable because LinkedIn is not a place for personal stories, my first question to them is, okay, now you're going to an offline meeting, you see somebody you've never spoken to before, he's a potential client, you step up to him, and what do? Are you start pitching right away only your services, or do you try to connect on a personal level?
Yeah, you have the small talk.
Is this your first time? Right. Did you went on holiday? Have you seen the show yesterday? So why do you? And all the salespeople go, yes, of course, we do the smooth talk. So why do we do it in real life? And when we go to LinkedIn, we forget about the smooth talk and we only do like so that's more or less how I deal with it.
All right, let me just share one thing, which is, Gary Vaynerchuk talks about the jab, right hook philosophy, where you have 3 posts of value and then 1 where you ask for business. I actually do a little bit differently. I call it jab, 20-second hug, right hook, and then I do the group hug. And what the 20-second hug is, I share a vulnerable post, something that I'm challenged with or something that I see that I'm struggling with. And then the group hug is where I do shout outs for people, kind of like what John's doing, although not as regularly as he does. And so, that's kind of my balance or my mix. So just want to throw that out there. I mean, we don't know what's the best ratio, but I think certainly to John's point, I find that balance. I want to switch gears and ask a bunch of questions myself. Let's go using a personal post as the one. Do you have any data around the first 2 lines? Because what happens is, people see the first 2 lines, then they see more, and they want to click that button, and maybe they see the rest. I know a lot of people talk about the fact that the first 2 lines or the first 5 seconds of video are critical to get people's attention, and then they're willing to engage more, and then maybe there's more dwell time. I was curious if you had any data on that idea of the first 2 lines and the clicking the see more to see the whole content.
No, we have data on the increased impact of people clicking on see more compared to last year. LinkedIn implemented dwell time in the algorithm May 2020. So when we did our first research last year, we only had 4 or 5 months of dwell time. So now, 12 months later, we saw that compared to a like, for example, if people click on see more, it has more impact in the algorithm than people clicking on like. Okay, so it's a very strong call to action. Now, obviously, we cannot examine the first 2 or 3 lines because it has to do with language, with emotion, but in my opinion, if the see more button is one of the most important buttons for the silent community, which I mean, they don't publish, they don't like, they don't comment, they don't share, they are silent consumers, the only thing they click on is the see more button because then they are engaged and they want to read the rest of your story. So this, to me, Bobby, makes it obviously that you need to have a trigger line in the first 2 lines. You need to, it's almost AIDA. You need to create attention and interest and desire to click on see more. So the way how I do it, I have a statement, a very bold statement, or I have 2 questions, or I have something like, here are the 10 tips to rock LinkedIn. Do you want to know more? Click below in order to make people click on the see more button. So the see more button is very powerful because the majority of LinkedIn people belong to the silent community. 64% of the people do never post, never hit like, comment, share, but they do engage with your post by reading, by clicking on an attachment or a link. So, and
what I say,
yeah,
what I say in my training is that you should treat the line that leads to the see more as your second, almost like your secondary headline. So the first line is your headline, but line 3 for almost all types of posts is really your secondary headline, the thing that leads into the see more. And for text posts, it's line 5, because you get more of the preview on text posts. That's where it leads in. So yeah, those see more links do seem to be really, really important. I was wondering whether you have any stats around whether people save posts and whether that has a strong algorithmic impact, because it feels to me as if loads of people are saving a post, it must be valuable, but how can you measure that?
And the last post I saved was Richard's post, so I saved that.
That's very good, Bobby. You should save more of my posts.
There you go.
The save feature is not wonderful.
No,
it's not. But surely it's a strong signal to the LinkedIn algorithm that there's something of value.
You'd think so.
When are you saving, John? What would be the reason for you to save a post?
It's usually if I'm on the go and someone's done a video or a document post, and I just want to go back to it, so I can comment from desktop.
For me, the same. So it's hey, I see this post, I don't have the time to engage, but I really want to engage. Or, hey, I see this post about this topic, interesting. I can do a better post or another post around this topic, but it's a reminder about a topic. Our research cannot show that, because we take over the accounts of the people, but we don't know when they save it, and it's very difficult to measure the impact. For me, just based on common sense and studying the algorithm ongoing for the past week, it would make sense that if a lot of people save my post, it would be a massive positive signal to LinkedIn. I cannot back that up with stats. I cannot.
I think we need to talk about video. So from what I can tell, video is a bit of a mixed bag, according to the latest Algo report. Reach on video declined by 20%. Video
compared to last year.
Compared to last year, video is the most reshared form of content on LinkedIn. 30 to 40% less organic video appearing in the timeline. What do you mean by organic, Richard?
Native videos that you, me, John put up. We see less videos. If you scroll down your timeline, you see up to 30–40% less videos, which is not strange because we have more ads, and for God's sake, we have more polls.
Average length of video is just over 1 minute. 60% are less than 1 minute. What are these people doing? LinkedIn Live users increased by 574% in 21. And that's compared to 437% in 2020. So more people getting access to LinkedIn Live increasingly. LinkedIn Live receives up to 20 times more comments than native video and 6 times more likes. But we've only seen a +10 or +15% increase of LinkedIn Live content in our feed compared to 2020. Average engagement rate for LinkedIn Live is 3.6%. Interviews or meet the expert type LinkedIn Lives, 5.2 to 6.4%. So very much a mixed bag. It's almost like a ton more people doing live and video, but not getting as much exposure in terms of reach. As someone who has recently had access to LinkedIn Live, played around with it, done some different stuff, different to what I've seen other people do, I like it very much. And engagement, according to Shield, was double digit, and it's like, to me, that's a no-brainer. Right? No brainer. However, I've pressed pause because I'm now waiting to see what the next iteration of perhaps stories, LinkedIn Live, whatever LinkedIn thinks of as video is. And in particular, I want more control, but I also want more anchoring. I want to be able to put all of my video content under a dedicated video tab so people can actually see it. Right now, whenever I produce a LinkedIn Live, it's like vanishes into the ether. And that's no good if I want to, build an audience.
Can you not put you can put a live in your featured section, can you?
I can put it in my featured section, absolutely. Yeah, I could do that for sure.
Although again, if you
don't you?
Yeah, and
What's
if you
that?
had multiple ones, it would get lost, right? If you had
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think the big thing
for,
is that the user interface for live videos, especially responding to comments, is terrible, and so
Yeah.
that's no
Yeah.
fun for anyone.
Shocking. But I think that's because of the
I'll-
setup, isn't it? Because it's like third party. They're doing it through third parties. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Bobby.
I just want to say that for me, I did live streams tremendously when they first came out, all the time, and 3 times a week, and I did videos every day. And now the traction on them is so small compared to other posts. When I do a personal post, when I do a poll, when I do a text-based post, an image-based post, the amount of views and engagement are far greater than the video. Like I did a video the other day about 7 business tips for branding for business owners, and 175 views, and that's nothing compared to the thousands I'm getting on the other ones. And so I don't know why LinkedIn is discouraging me from doing this, because I really think that video is the best way to connect with people. And I mean, this live stream, of course, we're getting a lot of great traction, but most of my live streams I don't get this kind of traction. So it's kind of frustrating to that LinkedIn is discouraging so much video, it seems.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any data around this, Richard, but in an official article not that long ago, and I can't remember their exact wording, but LinkedIn said something like, if you have a lot of outstanding invitations, then LinkedIn will be less likely to show you in the kind of recommended for you, to show you to other people on the basis that, well, if you're not answering your existing invitations, why should we bother giving you any more? Have you got any evidence to show that people who have a lot of outstanding invitations have less visibility because LinkedIn thinks that they're maybe not at the races properly?
Again, my common sense would say that would sound very logical to me. If you have like 300 outstanding invitations, okay, we're not going to highlight your profile because obviously you're not responding. No, we don't have data, but I guess, John, that because this is really a good question, and our research mainly tries to examine the algorithm. So what happens in the timeline, and this is something that not happens in the timeline. Well, it's shown like, you just connect with this one, maybe you want to connect with this one. But if you are able to remember your question and send them to me, it's definitely something that I can ask the group to examine. One of the reasons why it would be very helpful if you would send this to me, because I think also based on what we have seen that LinkedIn is making more slight adjustments to the algorithm than ever before. It looks like they're not making a very big algorithm change like they did last year and about 2 years ago, but they're adapting like more dynamic to optimize, as they say, to optimize our LinkedIn experience, or maybe to make life for us a bit more difficult. I don't know how you want to call it, but they are making more tiny adjustments. So one of the things I discussed with my team is maybe we should have a quarterly update on algorithm or on things that happen on LinkedIn. So this means instead of having one big research every year, we can do every 3 months, like a sub-research where this suit questions we can try to examine and give some feedback on that.
That would be smart. 4 more times the goodness of Richard van der Blom, Algo. Analysis. Yes, please. Thank you very much. We should talk about polls and we should talk about creator mode. Probably not in
No, we should not talk about polls, Andy. We should not talk about polls.
Probably not in order. Probably that. All right. But yeah, polls 450+% more reach. Then what? What are we comparing that with? Is that the regular poll with text, and image?
Yeah.
Is that still your baseline? So I mean, so we all know why, because it draws in. You guys all know the 1, 9, and 90 rule, right? It draws in the 90% of folks who, the silent majority who just can't resist. And it's so easy, isn't it? It's like, click on that little vote. Yeah, I'm done. Oh, I'm not done. I got to come back and check out what other people.
Well, imagine going into someone's cubicle and say, "Hey guys, what's your favorite Netflix show? What's your favorite movie you've seen this year?"
Yeah,
people do that all the time. It's extremely engaging.
It's dopamine. You gotta like, and suddenly you're involved. Like you would.
And for the algorithm, everyone who clicks on one of the 2 or 3 options is engaging on your post.
Yeah.
So that's why yesterday I showed a client of mine a poll where I would have, I don't remember the exact, but it was something like 100 likes, 50 comments, okay? That poll reached 36,000 views, 100
That's
likes,
insane.
50
Wow.
comments. Then I go to a regular post, double, 200 likes, more than 100 comments, 12,000 views. So 3 times less views with the double amount of engagement than a poll. So clicking means for LinkedIn, hey, engagement, engagement. So instead of only measuring 100 likes, 50 comments, no, 600 votes, so 600 positive engagement signals to the algorithm of LinkedIn. That's why polls are now like boosted in the timeline. My guess, based on a lot of people sending to LinkedIn also something like, for me, I would like to have an opt-out of polls. I would like to have something like, I don't want to see polls anymore. Opt-out, no polls on my timeline. Because I think there are multiple reasons why polls could be very handy, a very strong instrument for marketing and sales. If used correctly, if you get your target audience to engage. So go ahead with that. But me, I want to have an option that I can opt out of polls, because now, to be honest, 8, 9 out of 10 polls I see are not interesting. But however, because they are boosted, it's like hugely over present in my timeline. So it decreases the value of scrolling for me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I did a 3-week experiment where I deliberately avoided all interaction with polls. Whenever I saw one, I scrolled past it as quickly as I could.
Yeah.
And they just keep showing up. So LinkedIn's not paying any attention to my behavior, unlike the way, it works with other things. So that's definitely the sign of an artificial boost, which I hope is going to end soon.
And I did a test where I did a poll every day for 7 days, and what I can tell you is that the personal ones did extremely well. I mean, I did one on your favorite movie ending, and it did extremely well compared to something that was more business related. So, because it's engaging people and creating those conversations. And people, one of the things happening with polls too is that very few people like it, but there's lots of comments, right? So I think that also drives things. I want to make sure I get 2 more questions in before he has to leave, and I know Andy and John may have a last question as well. One question I have for you, again, SSI scores. I just don't understand SSI scores. I find the SSI scores to be very subjective and really weird, but particularly with the two find the right people and engagement insights. I don't understand how the numbers move up and down in terms of, I'll spend a week engaging on insights and sharing comments and whatnot, and nothing moves. I'm not sure if you have any data on that, because I find the SSI thing.
I do. My engage on insights has not exceeded 15 points in the past 2 years.
There you go.
I cannot share more content. I cannot, well, I don't want to be arrogant, but I think I provide a lot of added value. I get a lot of engagement. For some reason, it's not over 15. Now, what we have seen is that what is taken into account in that score is also the acceptance rate on in-mails. So this means if you don't, and I'm not talking about in-mails from recruiters, I'm not talking about in-mails from a business subscription, I'm talking about in-mails from a Sales Navigator subscription. Okay, so this means that 6 points, more or less 6 points, you can get with a high acceptance rate on in-mails. You can only get them if you have Sales Navigator, which makes sense because I have Sales Navigator. I train people in Sales Navigator, but I don't use the in-mails because I don't need them at this point. Second, the engagement on smart links, which is part of the Sales Navigator team and Enterprise Edition. So you create content, you code it with a smart link, you send a smart link via one-on-one message, and people actively engaging on the smart link, downloading your content also increases your engagement with content. So without Sales Navigator, you cannot have a score above 17 on Engage with Insights. So that's why I'm stuck at 50.5, because I don't use those or I very rarely use those 2 functions. The same goes with finding the right people. It's about creating saved lead searches in Sales Navigator, checking your saved searches every week. So clicking on the 2nd, 3rd degree profiles in Sales Navigator on these profiles. So again, if you don't have sending connection requests not from your regular, but from your Sales Navigator and getting a high acceptance rate. So this means without Sales Navigator, the second and third element of your SSI, you cannot get it up to 25 or even to 20.
That is amazing because it validates my whole premise that I've told people. SSI was designed for selling premium services. So I'm glad you said that. Fantastic. That's awesome.
Of course. My all-time high is 96. Okay, my all-time high 96, 2015. There was no smart link. There wasn't no in-mail in the way we know it now. So then it was more about organic content, about looking for people in the regular LinkedIn, inviting them, accepting, building your network. Because I have not been over 86 in the last 3 years because I'm not using this functionality of Sales Navigator.
Someone should do a study between people who have Sales Navigator and their average SSI and people that don't. But when I polled on SSI consistently, I said, look, my lowest pillar is engaged with insights, which really annoys me because my website is linkedinsights.com and it's consistent. And I said, is this the same for you guys? And the vast majority of folks said yes. So it's an interesting one.
I'm gonna add one more question, and then I'll let Andy and John give the last question before Richard goes. And again, there's lots of questions in the audience too, but you guys can all share it with each other. And then there's a lot of people who are watching this; they can share answers. I want to ask about repurpose posts. So if you did a post a year ago and you take the same content and repurpose it again, I saw someone talk about this, and they said that they were getting lower engagement from a post that they did a couple of years ago. Now, a lot of people repurpose posts, including myself. I wanted to know if you had any sort of data on that or thoughts.
No data on reusing content. I do it myself every now and then. I republish an article or I republish something that like evergreen content. Right. I have seen some people also in my timeline, Bobby, saying like, hey, if I repost, it goes down, I get far less. We don't have data about it. And to be honest, I don't know if I create exact the same text post with exact the same picture as, let's say, a year ago, if the algorithm is that smart to identify, hey, this has been posted a year ago. I seriously doubt it. I don't think they see it. But I've heard a rumor, Bobby, that people say if I repost the same content, I get like substantially less views. So it's very difficult for us to test because this means we need to post something with the test people and then post it again a year after and see what happens.
Yeah, understood. That's great. Thanks so much. And let's get to Andy and John for, I guess, one final dive for questions. So before you have to go.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to jump in the hour actually, but I was going to just ask about creator mode and your findings make a lot of sense to me. I always felt that it was going to have zero impact on reach because it just shuffled things around on the profile page.
Yep.
And as you said, Richard, does not increase reach or engagement, as a matter of fact, of your content. Shifts your reach to number of followers instead of number of connections. Again, makes sense because it moves that juicy follower count all the way at the top. CM, build your community of followers 5 times quicker. Now, does it do that for folks who just have the follow-up button as the first priority instead of the connect? That's my question, because I have had that for a couple of years, and of course the follower count has been moving up quite nicely.
Well,
go ahead.
It's a good question, Andy, because I need to dig into the research, how we state the question and what was the research. But I have recently, I received some messages from people who said, I have switched to creator mode 3 months ago, and you say my follower base would grow 5 times much, but it hasn't. And I click on their activity, and they produce like 0 amount of content, like a post every 2 weeks, which is not insightful. It's more like buy me, buy me, buy me. And then, unfortunately, I need to explain to people that only having the follow button but not putting out any insightful content will not do the job. And no, it will not grow your community 5 times as quicker. Yeah. For me and for a lot of people that are in very high frequency sharing valuable insights, you can see that like your follower base grows and you get less connections because the primary button is follow. Some people don't know that via the more button, they can find the connection button. Other people just settle for follow. I went in the past half year from about 15,000 followers to 25,000. So my followers base grew in a half year with about 9,000. My connection base last half year grew with 3,000. So you have the numbers, 3,000 more connections, 9,000 more followers. Like John, I like to see my follower base growing because this means that people value my content. And I think a lot of my potential clients, I see it in the direct messages I get. So you probably all know this. You get a direct message from somebody saying, hey, I have been following your content for a while. Really awesome. Now we have a question with regards to trading in a company. Can we do a chat? I'm not connected yet, but they have been following my content. So any people who say, no, I want to have connections because no. Sometimes people choose to follow you because they do not want to be right in your face at the very early start. They want to follow you, see more of your content until they get convinced and say, hey, this is the right time. Now I'm going to reach out. And the majority of people send me an email, not even a connection, an email. So I really like the fact that creator mode enables or accelerates the growth of my follower base.
And the other thing you said that creator mode increases your reach by plus 15% if your content contains the hashtags you have highlighted as part of, the CM mode on your profile. Which is interesting to me is that LinkedIn doesn't even call them hashtags in the official blurb; it calls them topics.
And they're not clickable.
Yeah, right. It's like seriously,
Yeah.
guys, what is going on here? So it's not. I'm not convinced that they know what they're doing.
The funny thing about the hashtags, because I receive a lot of questions. Why does LinkedIn want us to use 3 to 5 hashtags? Why? It's rumors. It's not confirmed. I have a lot of contacts within LinkedIn, so I try to send some people mails. Hey, can you check this? Nobody confirmed, but there are rumors that from 2020, some rumors I heard April, May, it will become possible for your company page to do an advertisement campaign on hashtags. So if you said, no, I'm in personal branding, I pay $200 and I want to be in the timeline of every person in the United States that follows the hashtag personal branding. For me, it would make sense to monetize the hashtags. If I could create a campaign on all the people that follow digital selling, sales enablement, I would do it. Because probably if people follow it, it's where their interest is. So this would also make sense that LinkedIn is giving more reach to people who help them build the database on hashtag followers. That's my thought. Again, it has not been confirmed by any official LinkedIn resource.
Yeah, it's coming up on the hour. Bobby, I want to thank you so much for organizing this. We could have gone 2 hours.
Absolutely.
Possibly 3 hours. Obviously, the man of the hour of the month, Richard. Fantastic job once again. Always a pleasure to share the screen with my fellow nerd, John Espirian. I've been monitoring the count, the viewer count, over 100, 72 right now. So we held them. I think we did a great job, guys.
Yeah, I want to thank all of you for being here, and thanks, John and Andy. I'm happy to stick around to discuss when Richard leaves. I mean, there's so much more. We can do this again because we didn't even get into. I want to get into company pages and talk about that.
Yeah,
I want to talk about dwell time. We may want to do this again. Yeah, I think we should do it again.
Let's do it.
There's so much to talk about.
I'm in, Bobby. So we'll do it.
And I'll jump into comments later, and start answering some questions too, guys. Thanks so much for all of those.
Yeah, thanks, everybody. Andy, you have to go too, or?
Yeah, I have to jump now.
Oh, okay. Then I think we'll probably end it there, guys. I want to thank everybody for being part of this. Thanks so much, and we'll do this again, and we'll stay in touch. Ask your questions in the comments, and share this on your pages, even though you don't get as much reach. If you want other people to see this, if you want other people to see this stuff, and feel free to make sure you follow all the people that are here, and you can also follow my company page. Thanks, everybody. So long. See you soon.
Bobby, thank you for organizing. John, thank you. Andy, thank you for the questions. Really nice to talk with you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.